Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 148 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. Yourself?
Very good, my friend, very good. Let's dive straight into the review part of the show. I don't think this week's show is going to be much of a long one, to be honest. Not too much to review, but like I say, let's waste no time. We're going to start at the Belasco Theatre in Los Angeles, California, of course, USA. One fight to mention on this bill, Hector Tanajara. He remained undefeated and moved to 15-0, a unanimous decision over 8 rounds against Emmanuel Morales, who's now 7-3. Like I say, a UD there over 8 rounds. For Hector Tanajara. Moving out now to Finland at the Opera Stage. Nice venue there. One real fight to mention over here. Robert Helenius picked up win number 27. He's got 2 losses also. It was a unanimous decision over 6 rounds against Yuri Bikatsu, who I believe they had a fight before and it was pretty close or something like that. There might have been a little bit of controversy attached to it. Well, anyway, this guy now has a record of 10-17 with 3 draws, so not a great record. I'm not quite sure why Robert Helenius is even fighting people like this, but it is what it is. It was a bit of a homecoming for him in Finland. Moving over now to the Celebrity Theatre in Phoenix, Arizona, USA. This was bizarre. Trevor Bryan, 19-0. We didn't know too much about this guy at all. He was going to be taking on BJ Flores, who was last seen getting dropped many times against Tony Bellew. David Haye was sat ringside. It was before the beef with, between Bellew and Haye. And that was a long time ago now. But anyway, BJ Flores, 34-3 with 1 draw. We knew that the winner of this fight would actually become mandatory to take on the winner of Frezequendo and Manuel Char, which was unbelievable that the winner would end up with a proper world title. Well, at the last minute, the WBA actually decided to put a belt on the line for this fight here. Trevor Bryan, like I say, relatively unknown. BJ Flores, not even a proper heavyweight. And it was for the interim WBA World Heavyweight title. Unbelievable from the WBA. So the winner of this fight ended up being Trevor Bryan, who's now 20-0. But one thing is, he actually had Flores down 6 times in the fight. It was a TKO in round 4. Flores was down 3 times in the 3rd round and 3 times in the 4th round. I didn't see the fight at all, but I guess on paper, even though BJ Flores isn't a fantastic fighter, it's quite a big win to drop him 6 times, and he's now 20-0. He's the interim WBA World Heavyweight Champion, Trevor Bryan. So that's a name to remember. Perhaps he'll be, hopefully stepping up against people that we actually want to see him fight. I'm not really too bothered about him fighting the winner of Manuel Char and Frezequendo, but hopefully he fights someone of note soon. Unbelievable, really, from the Celebrity Theatre there. Moving over now to the final bill to review. Like I say, not too much from last weekend. We have Jesus Rojas. He was the WBA World Featherweight Champion. He actually, crazily, I was about to say he lost his title, but I'm going to tell you about this. His record was 26-1 with 2 draws. He took on Joseph Diaz, who in his last fight lost on points to Gary Russell Jr. for the WBC title a few months ago now. I think it might have been April, something like that. Joseph Diaz, 26-1 when he jumped in the ring. He's now 27-1. Unfortunately for him, he was overweight and he was unable to win the title, but he did end up winning the fight unanimously over 12 rounds. And due to the WBA rules, Rojas actually keeps the world title despite losing the fight. So his record now 26-2 with 2 draws, but it's not the end of the world. He's still got a trinket at featherweight. And Joseph Diaz, it looks like he'll perhaps be moving up in weight. It's a real shame for him. Not many people are lucky enough to get 2 world title shots in a row. especially if you lose the first one the way he did. He pretty much lost everything in that fight against Gary Russell Jr. and then he jumped straight back in just a matter of months later. I mean, he's been very, very fortunate. Many people in their careers, they dream of fighting for a world title, but to get 2 on the bounce, I don't think he's going to get 3 on the bounce. Who does he think he is? Austin Trout? But yeah, that's really it for the reviewing. Joseph Diaz, it's a shame that he didn't come in just a little bit lighter. Maybe he'll be moving up to super feather. We'll have to wait and see. But he would be a world champion, but unfortunately for him, it's not to be. But like I say, that's it for the reviewing. Just before we wrap up part 1, the last thing to do is to welcome guest number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF Super-Middleweight world champion, Mr. Caleb Truax. Caleb, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Great to be back, man.
Hey, it's great to have you back. It truly is. So, Caleb, of course, we last spoke in the build-up to the second James DeGale fight. That fight, in my opinion, was a lot closer than the first one. However, of course, this time you were on the losing end of the decision. Talk us through that fight if you can, Caleb.
I didn't have my best night the second time around. I don't know what the problem was. My training camp went fantastic. It was like the longest, most comprehensive training camp I've ever had. I don't think I was overtrained. I think we did it exactly right. I just didn't have my best night in the ring. That besides the point, I still thought I should have won. I thought I did enough to win. I didn't think he did much at all. He did a lot of dirty stuff, holding and headbutting and grinding his glove into my face and elbowing. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on it. I moved on, and it is what it is, man.
Yeah, one thing I will say on a positive thing, a good way to look at it is, of course, you shared 24 rounds together, and you certainly won the majority of those. If you look at the whole 24, 100%, no one can argue with that one. You talk about there, it just didn't all come together on the night for you. In your opinion, was it a better James DeGale that showed up in Las Vegas, or did you simply underperform, or was it a little bit of both?
I don't think he was too much better. I think he made some good adjustments as far as tactics go. I don't think he was too much better than he was the first time around. He may have used his jab a little bit more, but it wasn't crazy noticeable how he had improved over the first fight to the second fight. He just made some good strategy changes, and he was in good shape. And like I said, I didn't have my best night. Just didn't work out for me.
Yeah, very, very true. Very well said. Moving on to the more positive things, though. Let's not dwell too much on that. You're fighting at the 24th, or on the 24th of this month, I should say, against Fabiano Pena, a man that isn't a terrible fighter, but every time he's fought, somebody of note, he's come up short. Is this really just a kind of keep busy fight for you at the moment, Caleb?
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't going to fight on the card. We were kind of waiting on see what DeGale was going to do. We tried to get a third fight with him, and that didn't work out. And we were going to try to wait out, see if there was something big that was going to come up. And just a couple weeks before the press conference for this fight on the 24th, they asked me if I wanted to be on it just to stay busy because it's in my hometown. I'm a big ticket seller in my hometown, so I'll add to the card. And I figured, why not? It's the sport where if you're going to sit around on the sidelines and do nothing, you're not getting any better. You're not staying sharp. So I wanted to just keep fighting, man. I love fighting. I want to go out there and be as sharp as I possibly can be when I do get a big opportunity. And I don't think I could do that if I sit and wait for another 4 months to fight or whatever, however long the distance be until I get a big fight again. So just want to go out there and stay busy and more importantly, get in front of my hometown fans and give all my friends and family and fans a chance to check me out. They haven't seen me too much lately. I've been in London and Las Vegas. Nicer for them to travel 15 minutes instead of 8 hours on a plane.
For sure. Now, this guy, the guy that you're going to be fighting, Pena, he has a winning record, but he also has 10 losses. 9 of those losses came by knockout. Would you be disappointed if you were not able to stop this guy come the 24th?
I mean, I'm not the type of fighter that's ever looking for the knockout or anything like that. I don't go out there and try to bomb guys out right away. I just try to feel them out and do what I do. But that being said, I think I should stop this guy, and I probably will be disappointed if I don't. I want to go out there and put on a good show in front of my hometown fans, and more importantly, I want to put on a good show and impress as far as letting people know that I deserve another big fight. And if I go out there and go 10 rounds with this guy where other people have stopped him, doesn't really shoot my name up in the rankings to get another big fight. So I want to go out there and get this guy out of there and just move on to the next one.
Now, you say there, Caleb, that you were kind of waiting on what James was going to be doing. You were looking at a potential third fight between you both. What are your thoughts on him vacating the belt?
It's kind of a catch-22, I guess you could call it. I understand why he did, because I think he's towards the end of his career, and he's looking to make as much money as he can. And fighting Uzcategui, he's not a very big name. He's not going to bring a lot of money to the equation. And he's also a dangerous fighter. He's a good super-middleweight champion, and it was a dangerous fight for James to not make that much money. So I understand why he would, if he could get a bigger fight with somebody over in London, or even myself. There's pretty good money on the table for him to fight me, and he turned that down as well, thinking he'd get more. But at the same time, that being said, giving up your belt, man, I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, a lot of people, not just fans, but boxers as well, kind of a little bit confused. I mean, I spoke to Callum Smith on last week's show, and he said, I understand if he vacated it and then announced a big fight just after, but, at this moment in time, we haven't seen anything from him. It's a very interesting situation in the IBF rankings, Caleb, obviously. I'm hoping that you may be able to clear something up at least, but obviously DeGale vacated the belt. Uzcategui was number 1. He has now been elevated to the full champion. You were ranked at number 2. You're still at number 2, and if I'm not mistaken, the number 1 spot is actually vacant. Is that right? It's so confusing.
No, so I'm not number 2. Caleb Plant is number 2. I believe I'm like number 5 or 6 or something like that. But yeah, it was confusing to me as well, because normally when a champion vacates like that, I don't think they normally elevate somebody. I think the number 1 and the number 2 guy have to fight for it. Is what I always thought was the deal. But I don't know. It's confusing. It's confusing to explain, and I feel bad for fans, because if the fighter who's ranked in the system doesn't understand what's going on, it makes it even tougher for fans to know what's going on. It's tough to follow.
Yeah, my apologies there for mixing you up with Caleb Plant. You're number 7 if I've got that correct in the IBF, and also you're gate crashing into the WBC rankings, which is a great thing. You are ranked number 10 there. So big opportunities for you, hopefully. You've got a fantastic story of how you got into boxing, Caleb. Obviously, we've heard about the situation of having a little bit of a college debt and trying to kind of find a way of paying it off. I want to ask you, at what point did you take up boxing, win a few fights, and go, do you know what? I'm quite good at this boxing thing. Maybe I should stick to this, and almost kind of, put college to the side a little bit.
Well, I had finished college before I turned pro. There was a time where I thought I was going to turn pro while I was still in college, but I wanted to finish my schooling before I concentrated on boxing. So I got that done out of the way. And to answer your question, it took a while, man. I was just having fun and didn't know how far I was going to take it. And to be honest, like the first time I really thought, like, man, I'm pretty good at this. I can make a career out of this, or make a good go out of it, is after my first loss to Jermaine Taylor. A lot of times people, they get down on themselves after a loss, but I had no idea how good I was or how far I could go. And then I fought a guy that who was the former unified champion and a guy that I played with on video games growing up, and dropped him and almost knocked him out. And afterwards, it gave me a ton of confidence. Like, man, maybe I'm good at this. Maybe I can take this further than I ever expected. And it really motivated me to work harder and just keep it on, basically.
Now, that is truly amazing, man. It really is. Now, obviously, we talk about you being ranked in the WBC rankings and also the IBF rankings. Obviously, you've got to take care of this fight here, and who knows what's going to be happening in the future in the meantime. But obviously, you're looking at two men really in the not so distant future, and those guys, I believe, would be David Benavidez and Uzcategui that we mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Which of those guys do you kind of see as having a style that you would be able to beat easier?
Well, neither one of them would be easy to beat. They're both good fighters, that's for sure. But I don't know. It's kind of contrasting styles where Uzcategui is more of a veteran. He's been around longer. He's a little bit older. I think he's a little bit bigger puncher than Benavidez. But Benavidez is also a smooth boxer, man. He can really box and can bang as well. So both guys, they both provide different challenges, and they're both great fighters. But I'm confident I can figure out a plan, and my coach can figure out a plan to take care of either one of them. So hopefully I get a chance to fight for that WBC title against Benavidez. That's been kind of thrown around a little bit for the future, and same with the Uzcategui fight. Because I think Caleb Plant got hurt. He was ordered to fight him, and I think he got hurt. So he's right now he's kind of in limbo as to who he's going to fight next. So that's been thrown around. Chavez Jr., that name's also been thrown around for a possible opponent this fall or winter for me. And even Rocky Fielding, he won that WBC title on WBA title, the secondary title or whatever it is, on the pretty big upset against that Russian guy and or German, whatever he is, and that's kind of been bounced around a little bit as well. So we'll see what shakes out. But like you said, man, I got to get past Fabiano Pena first. I'm concentrating on him like it's a world title fight. If I were to take him lightly and he beats me, then all them plans go out the window. So.
Yeah, for sure. But it seems like there's going to be a real nice fight for you later on this year. Now, Caleb, you've achieved every boxer's dream. You went on to win a world title. You did it on the road. You beat arguably the best fighter in the division at the time in James DeGale. What is your new goal at this point? What is your next goal in boxing? Can what you did in London when I was sat there ringside, can that be topped?
Honestly, I don't know if it can be or not, man. That was kind of like a crowning achievement in my career, and I mean, there'll always be a soft spot for that achievement in my heart. I know, because it just meant so much to me as far as my career goes, and as far as my family goes. It changed my life financially, and opened up a lot of different opportunities for me for after boxing. But right now, I think the only goals I really have right now is to kind of cement my legacy and provide for my family as much as I can these next couple of years, where I'm still going to be active, and I want to win back another title, whether it be the IBF or the WBC or the WBA. That's kind of what I have my sights set on now, just becoming a two-time champion and making a little money and getting out of the game while I'm still healthy, and sailing on to greener pastures.
Now, I'm going to tell you something now, Caleb. This something I'd probably usually tell you when we're off air, but I'm going to just tell it. I'm going to tell it to you, and the listeners can hear also. It's I can't name any names here, but this is actually something that happened. I remember being there, in December of last year when you came over. Now, we was all sitting there before the fight, all ringside, all the journalists, myself, and various other guys, and we're waiting to see James get in the ring and win a fight against this guy that he's chosen, that not too many people from the UK know. It's a homecoming. He's going to win this fight, no question. And the way that you beat this guy, I remember kind of being a little bit upset for James at the time, because at that point I'd never interviewed you, and I didn't know you too well. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, and I wanted James to win that fight. So did everyone ringside. And when he lost, I remember kind of being like, wow, what is James going to do now? And we were all talking, and I can't name any names, but there's some top journalists that have been in boxing for what seems like centuries, much more known guys than me. And I said, what's James going to do now? Surely there's a rematch clause. And I remember those guys saying, there probably is a rematch clause, but I don't think he's going to want to fight this guy again. And that really was some big words coming from these guys. Like, the way that you dealt with James DeGale, they did not think he'd even fancy fighting you again. It was just such a brilliant performance that night. I'm still so proud of you. But coming down to the last couple of questions, Caleb. Callum Smith versus George Groves, the World Boxing Super Series final is happening in Saudi Arabia. The less said about that, the better. But who wins the fight?
Did they actually schedule that now? I've been waiting for a while to. When is it taking place?
28th of September. It's a Friday.
Oh, why are they doing it in Saudi Arabia? Why not in England?
I asked Callum Smith last week, and he's got no clue either.
That doesn't make no sense. It's a good fight, first of all. Callum Smith is a big, tall, strong super middleweight, and George Groves has a ton of experience, ton of boxing ability. If George Groves' shoulder is healthy, I think I have to favor him, man. He's a pretty brilliant boxer that got a great jab and got a little pop to him as well. I don't know too much about Callum Smith. I watched his fight against that replacement for Bramer. I don't know what his name was, but he's like a kickboxer or something. Yeah, and he didn't look too great against him, but I think he's gonna present anybody with problems at 168 because he's so big, But I favor Groves for sure.
Yeah, I think the general public kind of think that Groves is the favourite.
If he's healthy. Yeah.
That's a big if. Yeah. I mean, Callum Smith's not really to be slept on at all. I know that you're not sleeping on him, but he's
No, I just don't. Yeah, I just don't know that much about him. So
because I know that he was preparing for a southpaw, like for the whole camp in Bramer, and then it all changes with 4 days to go. But I want to ask you,
that can be tough. That's happened to me a couple of times, and that's no joke, man. That can be tough.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask you, Caleb, what do you get up to in your spare time? Because going by your social media, you seem to live a pretty cool life outside of boxing. Obviously, I know that you enjoy playing golf. You're on the way to play golf as we speak now. I know that you do a little bit of gardening. I saw you dug up some vegetables recently. And also, I saw that you've got your own beer can cooler things that look really cool as well.
Yeah, man, I kind of I'm all across the board when it comes to hobbies, man. I like to keep myself busy, and right now I'm just pulling up to a charity golf tournament that raises money to support troops. It's called Teed Up for the Troops. They raise money to support people's families that are overseas and stuff like that, fighting in the military, and do some golfing, some gardening. Just started this year for the first time since I was a little kid, and growing some vegetables in my yard. Love drinking craft beer. One of my sponsors is Lupulin Brewery, a beer, and yeah, man, I'm just all over the place. Oh, I love fishing. That's my main hobby. Fishing, bass fishing is my main thing to do.
Excellent, man. It's really cool, man. Really cool. Now, I just wanted to, just before I let you go, the last thing I wanted to give you an opportunity just to send out a message to your UK supporters who I know still have a lot of love for you.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you so much for following me, all the love on social media you guys give me. It's been a blast kind of get to know you and speak with you guys on via Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. And thanks so much for the support, and I really, really hope I can make it back to the UK and have a fight back there someday, man. It was such a pleasure to be over there and fight in front of the fans at I think it was the Copper Box Arena, and then kind of hang out for the next couple of days and drink some pints with you guys at the pubs afterwards.
Okay, listen, Caleb, it's always my pleasure, sir. It truly is. Best of luck for the 24th, and we'll certainly catch up sometime afterwards, my friend.
All right, thanks, George.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show, but firstly, just before we dive into the previewing, it is time for the news. Ayaz, take it away.
Lewis Ritson will return in the ring on October the 13th.
Yes, that to be happening in his hometown of Newcastle. I think they've announced a few fights on the undercard already, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no opponent set for him just yet. Hopefully it's going to be a bit of a step up from the British level. Obviously he's won the title outright now, so I'd like to see him push on a little bit. Obviously he's still so young, but yeah, a brilliant fighter, and I'm looking forward to that one for sure.
Right, Joe Joyce has announced that he has teamed up with Al Heyman.
Yeah, a move that has really kind of took the boxing world by surprise, not just the fans, also the media. I didn't really see this coming. A lot of people are asking, is David Haye still involved? To my understanding, he is still involved because Al Heyman is obviously an advisor, not a promoter. It is kind of weird and it is kind of confusing and it is quite mysterious, but that is the way it is. So, for example, Eddie Hearn is trying to sign all these big American fighters, and loads and loads and loads of them are advised by Al Heyman, and that doesn't put a barrier in the way for Eddie Hearn to actually promote these guys. People that are actually being promoted by people like Top Rank and the rest of them, Eddie Hearn can't approach them because they're in a promotional contract. But Al Heyman, he's an advisor, so, you know, if his fighters don't have a promoter, Eddie Hearn can actually go there and deal with them, whether, whether Al Heyman believes that's the right thing or not. I think he's got enough money to stop Eddie Hearn getting his claws on some of his fighters, but it is what it is. Al Heyman getting involved with Joe Joyce, it seems like it's kind of too early to say if it's the right move or not. Obviously, he's training out in the States in Big Bear with Abel Sanchez. He did say that he'll be announcing something soon. I think he'll be fighting in the States. Obviously, a lot of people like to forget that he's not just promoted by David Haye. He's also promoted by Richard Schaefer, who, he resides in the United States, Ringstar Promotions, obviously. So, I think it'll probably be easy for him to be fighting out there, and it looks like he'll be doing that for the foreseeable future. It's a shame, really, because I enjoyed going to all of Joe's fights over here. Hopefully he does still fight in the UK, but for the next few fights, it's looking like he's going to probably be out in the States. But yeah, I don't think he's broke off with Haymaker, Ringstar, or anything like that. We'll have to wait and see. At the moment, we're all just guessing. But I don't think it's much of a problem. I think David Haye will still be involved, and like I say, Richard Schaefer will add him to those big bills in the US, and it's not far for Richard Schaefer to be there ringside. Obviously, like I say, he lives in America, so yeah, good move, I guess, for Joe Joyce in terms of building his profile, going out there and fighting in a different country and a different state and a different continent and all the rest of it, a different audience, and I can carry on with the list. But it's all about the big fights for Joe Joyce, and if he believes that Al Heyman can deliver that for him, then it should be very interesting. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. All the very best to Joe Joyce.
Yep, and finally, Kubrat Pulev has announced that his IBF final eliminator against Hughie Fury will be staged in Sofia on October 27th.
Yeah, I think we always kind of thought that Hughie Fury would have to travel. This whole thing with Dillian White, he was supposed to be taking on Kubrat Pulev, and it looked like, I think, they had a little bit too much money, and it kind of surprised Eddie Hearn and the rest of it, and then the fight didn't end up happening because it was definitely going to be taking place in Bulgaria. So whoever Kubrat Pulev's promoter is, I forgot momentarily, it seems like he's investing a lot in his fighter, and why not? I think Pulev's a brilliant fighter, but yeah, Hughie Fury's going to be travelling, he's going to be on the road in the backyard of Kubrat Pulev, a very, very hard fight, and it's a must-win fight really for Hughie Fury if he's got world title ambitions at this stage. But he is a traveller, so hopefully he travels well and he comes back with the W. Is that it for the news, Ayaz? Yeah?
Yes, that's it for the news.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayaz. Moving over now to the previewing. We're going to start in the Grand Casino in Hinckley, Minnesota, USA. One fight or two fights to mention on this bill, really. I think it's just the one. Yes, the son of the former heavyweight world champion Hasim Rahman, his son Hasim Rahman Jr., 5-0, he gets in the ring against Raymond Ochieng, who's 26 and 21 with 3 draws. Hasim Rahman Jr. is the guy that I told a story about when his opponent got in the ring, and then before the referee announced both guys, he made up a bit of a weird excuse, and then he got out of the ring, and then he decided that he didn't fancy it, and he packed up his stuff, took his boxing kit off, put his tracksuit bottoms over his shorts, jumped in his car and left, which was very bizarre. Hasim Rahman Jr. 5-0 with 4 knockouts, but he takes on a guy here who, like I say, he's got 21 losses, 16 by knockout, so I'd probably predict a knockout win here. But the one thing about Ochieng, he can bang himself. He's got 21 knockouts from 26 wins, so yeah, all the very best to Hasim Rahman Jr., a friend of the show. Moving over now, though, to the big one at Windsor Park, Belfast, Northern Ireland, United Kingdom, as it's going to be shown on BT Sport. It's annoying the Box Nation customers. I'm actually going to have to go to somebody's house to watch this one, unfortunately. Let's start with the undercard, though. There's a few fights on the undercard that are quite juicy. Conrad Cummins, 13-2 with 1 draw. His opponent yet to be announced. Marco McCulloch, 19-4. His opponent yet to be announced. Lewis Crocker, 6-0, his opponent yet to be announced. Steve Collins Jr., 12-1 with 1 draw. He takes on Stephen Ward, who's 7-0. That's a brilliant fight there, by the way. Luke Keeler gets out again. His record 14-2 with 1 draw. Real good fighter, Luke Keeler. He very much impressed me last time out. Like I say, he's in a 10-rounder, but no opponent as of yet. Tyson Fury, Ayaz, the return of the Gypsy King once again. It's not Sefa Seferi, it is Francesco Pianetta, who has a record of 35-4 with one draw in 40 fights. Obviously, Tyson Fury 26-0. Pianetta's got a bit of a story. It's a 10-round fight, this one, by the way, but Pianetta, a former cancer patient, he got over the cancer, he beat it, and he ended up challenging for the heavyweight world titles once upon a time against Vladimir Klitschko. Very, very cool story. He's an Italian by way of Germany, or vice versa, and it's a step up from Sefa Seferi, Ayaz, but I'm not quite sure that Pianetta's got enough to trouble Fury. Of his 4 losses, he's been knocked out 3 times, but like I say, a very good version of Vladimir Klitschko got him out in 6 rounds. If Tyson Fury can do it quicker than that, then that'd be quite a statement. Shagayev did manage to get him out in 1 round back in 2015. That was a real impressive win there from Shagayev. But most recently, he's coming off a loss against Peter Milas, who's 11-0. He's actually a prospect. That was on points over 10 rounds. And then before that, a bit of a shock loss here to Kevin Johnson. We know about him fighting Daniel Dubois in a matter of weeks, I believe, or months now. That was a bit of a shock. That was in October of last year. Kevin Johnson knocked him out in 7 rounds. That's not very encouraging, but it's a step in the right direction, Ayaz, and the most important thing is that we've got the Gypsy King in the ring again. We're all waiting for him to, get back and find his form, and this is just another fight, or another step, I should say, in that right direction.
Yes, that's 100% true. I mean, it's another stepping stone fight for Tyson Fury. Obviously, getting that ring rust after being out for such a long time. I reckon Fury's going to knock him out. I reckon Fury's going to stop him. But it's going to be a heavyweight madness that night, because there's 2 fighters that's going to be there. Deontay Wilder's going to be at the fight, and there's one other person, and that's Shannon the Cannon Briggs, who's also going to be at the fight. So there's going to be a bit of a heavyweight madness on that night. Obviously, you got Fury. Should Fury win, he said that he's fighting Deontay Wilder in Vegas next, and Shannon Briggs is going to be in the ring. Shannon Briggs is going to be at the fight. So something's crazy is going to happen that night with all 3 of the heavyweights there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Tyson Fury and Pianetta to fight, and then perhaps we can throw Shannon Briggs and Wilder in on the undercard. That'd be fun. But no, in all seriousness, Shannon Briggs, he makes us all laugh. A real character, to say the least. Deontay Wilder doing the commentary. It seems very promising, this whole thing between Fury and Wilder. It really does look like a deal could be happening. Very interesting from Wilder to come and commentate. Obviously, he didn't want to come and commentate on Joshua's fight against Parker on the 31st of March. People forget that. There was all question marks about him coming over, then he didn't want to come over. You can take of that what you will. Some people will say, oh, well, it's Deontay Wilder's fault that the fight's not happening between him and Joshua. He doesn't want it. And then you've got another load of people that believe it's Eddie Hearn's fault. Nobody really knows, but he's coming over to do the commentary. That's 100% happening, so it'll be very interesting. And I'm looking forward to see what he says. Hopefully he doesn't get in the ring and start trying to go after Fury like Fury did to him a few years ago when he ripped off his waistcoat and threw his weight around in that ring. We've gone to the prediction league on this, Ayaz. Tyson Fury by knockout, 93% of the voters. 3% going with Fury on points, and a very brave 4% going with Pianetta on points. I must say, Ayaz, I don't think Tyson Fury will get him out of there early. I think it's late. I think they've chose this guy to probably carry him a few rounds, even though he got stopped in 1 by Shagayev. I don't see Fury doing it early. I really don't. I could be completely wrong. How do you see it?
Fury's going to knock him out, but I reckon it's going to be between 4 and 5 rounds.
Between 4 or 5, so still quite early. I mean, that's fine. We're only going to talk about the actual method. So you're going with a knockout. I'll go with a knockout. I think it's probably a little bit later than that. I'd even perhaps say about round 8, round 9. And the listeners, I mean, they've gone, like I say, with a Fury knockout. So we're all going with Fury by knockout there. I think that's really it on that fight. I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the ring. Hopefully he doesn't try and kiss him in the ring or anything like that. I want to see real boxing stuff from Fury. Hopefully he shook off the nerves and he will be back to his best. let's not overlook him, by the way, because it's a real step up from Sefer Sefri, I believe, and obviously the height difference isn't that drastic. This is a 6'5" southpaw heavyweight, by the way, we should mention, in Mr. Pianetta. That's it for that one. Moving up the bill, Christopher Rosales, Ayaz, 27-3, former opponent of Cal Yafai, where he lost, former opponent of Andrew Selby, where he put him down in the first round and then went on to lose pretty much everything from there. He lost on points, is what I'm saying, twice of his 3 losses on British soil. Like I say, one to Cal Yafai, one to Andrew Selby, and then after that he went on the road to Japan and he knocked out the undefeated Daigo Higa and took his belt. He's now the WBC World Flyweight Champion, and he brings his belt to Belfast and defends it against the hometown hero, Mr. Paddy Barnes, 5-0, undefeated as a professional. Ayaz, only 1 knockout though on Barnes' resume, not the biggest puncher, but a real solid amateur. He's got that pedigree. That's something that Rosales doesn't have, but of course Rosales has the professional experience over Paddy Barnes. Rosales as well, very tough guy. Like I say, of his 3 losses, he's never been stopped, and he had Selby on the deck in the very first round, which was very shocking, so he carries a bit of power. Like I say, when he's took on the top guys, like I say, Daigo Higa, he knocked him out in his backyard in Japan. He likes to get on the road, this kid, and he's only young. He's only 23, so there's quite a gap in the age here. Paddy Barnes, obviously, the much more mature man in that ring. It's a very hard fight to pick, in my opinion, Ayaz, because the bookies favour Christopher Rosales massively, but I just think that Paddy Barnes, with his boxing skill, will quite comfortably outbox him, especially the fact that it's in his backyard. I think Paddy Barnes to win on points is about 3-1 in the bookies, and that is very, very, very tempting for me. Yeah, we've gone to the prediction leagues on it, Ayaz. I'm going to go with Paddy Barnes on points, and I could be looking like a real fool, but for me, that's how I think it goes. The listeners are going with Rosales by knockout. 33% have gone with that. 25 with Barnes by knockout. I'm not quite sure that I can see that happening. This guy's a real tough South American Nicaraguan fighter. And then 21% for Barnes on points, and 21% for Rosales on points also. Very tough fight, Ayaz. How do you see it?
It's a tough, very fight. Obviously, he's coming in again to another British sword, but he's coming in to fight Paddy Barnes. Obviously, Paddy Barnes is he's fought in the Olympics. He's got a very good amateur background. He's fought 5 times. I'm tell you what, I'm gonna agree with you. I think I'm gonna go with a Paddy Barnes points win. I'll tell you what. First of all, is this homecoming. Obviously, we've seen his opponent, Paddy Barnes' opponent, being beat on British soil already, and obviously, with the crowd cheering Paddy Barnes on, it's going to motivate him for more. So I think I'm going to go with Paddy Barnes to win. I'm going to go with Paddy Barnes to win on points. Or
yeah.
Actually, I'm going to go one step higher. I think he's going to knock him out.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a statement. I wouldn't say that Paddy Barnes has not got the ability to do that. I don't think it'd be like a one-punch knockout, but I think he could perhaps overwhelm him and really put the pressure on. But yeah, you're right, Ayaz. This guy, 2 of his losses have been on British soil before, so when he comes over here, he doesn't seem to win. When you look at his past, but yeah, he's lost to Cal Yafai, he's lost to Andrew Selby, 2 quality amateurs, and Paddy Barnes is another real quality amateur that's just turned over, still undefeated, but a real huge step up as well for Paddy Barnes. And top of the bill, Ayaz, Carl Frampton, 25-1, puts his interim WBO World Featherweight title on the line against Luke Jackson, 16-0, the undefeated Olympian from Australia. What I've heard about this guy, he's actually, he was a real good amateur, obviously undefeated as a professional, and he's certainly not someone to overlook. A lot of people saying that it's going to be an easy fight for Carl Frampton. A lot of people eyeing up, bigger fights down the line, but it's a real hard fight. I mean, obviously, I'm not sitting here and saying that Jackson's going to win. I just don't think that we should all take it for granted that he's going to absolutely be outclassed. Because, like I say, an ex-Olympian that's turned pro, and he's very, very hungry. This is his opportunity to really go into the big time. And if he wins this fight, then boy, oh boy, his career really could be something. So he's coming with a lot of drive, a lot of motivation, and he's really, really up for it. He truly is. So for me, it's a tougher fight than most people think it's going to be, in my opinion. I think Carl Frampton on points. I don't think he's going to stop this guy, even though when you look at this guy's record and you actually look at who he's beaten as a pro, he's got a really padded record. It's really bad. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter or anything like that, but the guys he's fought, I mean, the best win on his resume is guys that I've never even heard of, and I'm looking at records with like 27 wins, 11 losses. Like that's probably the best win on there, if my memory serves me right. He really hasn't took on anybody of note as a pro, so it's a huge step up for him. I think Carl Frampton wins, but I think he wins on points. Ayaz, how do you see it?
I personally think Frampton's going to win on points. I'll tell you why. Obviously, Frampton's a bigger fighter. Frampton is a bigger name fighter. Obviously, it's in his hometown again, and it was his dream to fight in Windsor Park. Obviously, Luke Jackson's the 2012 Olympian. I haven't really heard much about him. Obviously, should Frampton win this fight, he's going to go on to fight Oscar Valdez or Josh Warrington. But if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with a win with Frampton on points.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree, like I say. And the listeners, very, very confident with Frampton winning. I don't blame them on that. But they've gone 61% with Frampton by knockout, so that is what they're going with. Also, 32% Frampton on points, 3% Jackson on points, and 4% Jackson by KO. So very little chance our listeners give the travelling Aussie. Yeah, that's really it for that one. Moving over now to the Westin Bonaventure Hotel. This is in Los Angeles, California, USA. One fight to mention on this bill here, Ayaz. Very interesting fight. Batur Akhmedov, who I've never heard of. He's 4-0. He's actually the WBA Intercontinental Super Lightweight Champion. I'm guessing to hold that belt so early on, he must have been quite a good amateur to be pushed on really that quickly. And he takes on Ishmael Barroso, who's 20-2 with 2 draws. That's a huge step up in class. Obviously, Barroso, we've seen over here, we've seen him get stopped by Anthony Crolla in a fight where, what was a brilliant fight, let's be completely honest, but he absolutely steamrolled Kevin Mitchell, and then he's actually coming off a loss against a guy called Issa Shaniev. That was in May of this year, so he's hit a little bit of a sticky patch since that Crolla loss, and he's still a danger man. 20 wins, 19 by knockout, 2 losses, 2 draws, like I say. And this guy here, let me just look at him, 4-0 with 3 knockouts. I'm pretty sure he was an Olympian. Let me just check that. Yes, he was an Olympian. He fought in the 2016 Olympics. He represented Turkey and he lost in the quarterfinals, actually. So yeah, that is interesting. So this guy is quite a good fighter. He's also a southpaw. Yeah, interesting stuff there. Good luck to Ishmael Barroso. Tough guy. And if he loses this, Akhmedov must be something special to only have 4 fights and take on Barroso. You've got to have some balls there. And now moving over to the Maryland Live Casino in Maryland. You've guessed it, USA. 1 fight to mention, or 2 fights actually, on this bill. We have Demond Nicholson, 18-3 with 1 draw. That's the guy that blatantly quit against Jesse Hart. He's in a 10-rounder against Isaac Rodriguez, who's 25-2. This one's for the WBC United States Super-Middleweight title. Also on the bill, and this is really groundbreaking actually, we have Mykal Fox, 17-0. He's the guy that is a super lightweight, 140, but he's actually 6'3.5" or something crazy like that. We will be speaking to him later on in the show. He has a record, like I say, of 17-0. It's a 10-rounder against former world champion DeMarcus Chop Corley, who's now 51-31 with 1 draw. Now, the bizarre thing here is Mykal Fox is 22 years of age. He's taken on a man that is double his age, who's 44. And unbelievably, DeMarcus Corley has got 3 times the wins that Mykal Fox has got. He's got 51, Mykal Fox has got 17. So a huge step up here for Mykal Fox. It really is. But if he's the real deal, then he should beat DeMarcus Corley at this point in his career. All the very best, though, to both men there. That's a 10-rounder. And the final bill to mention, there's a couple good fights on the undercard. It's happening at the Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey, USA. It's going to be shown on ESPN. We have Alexander Teslenko, 13-0. He takes on Avery Gibson, 9-6 with 4 draws. That's an 8-rounder there. I'd like to see Teslenko stepped up, actually. We also have Shakur Stevenson, 7-0. He takes on Carlos Ruiz, who's 16-4 with 2 draws. Jason Sosa gets in the ring again, a friend of the show, 20-3 with 4 draws. Obviously, the man that beat Steven Smith, the man that lost to Lomachenko. He takes on Ronaldo Blanco, who's 14-4. That's an 8-rounder there. Jesse Hart, 24-1, takes on Mike Gavronski, who's 24-2 with 1 draw. Like I say, Jesse Hart, he made Damond Nicholson quit, and he also came up short, very unluckily, against Gilberto Ramirez for the WBO Super-Middleweight world title. Jesse Hart, a real good fighter from Philadelphia. But the main event here, Brian B.Y. Jennings, 23-2, takes on Alexander Dimitrenko, 41-3. Should be a decent fight. Dimitrenko, I don't rate him too much. He kind of wanted a way out of that Joseph Parker fight when he lost most recently to Parker. I think it was in the 2nd or 3rd round, I believe. And B.Y. Jennings should really be beating this guy quite easily. Dimitrenko, I think at this stage in his career, he doesn't offer too much. I think his record's very padded, actually. And Brian Jennings' 2 losses came to 2 of the best fighters in the sport, so no shame in that. Brian Jennings, I reckon, wins this one, and he needs to get a big fight after that because he's worked very, very hard for it. That's a 12-round contest there. No belt on the line, no, for that one. But that's really it for the previewing. We've now brought you the reviewing. The first guest, the news, the previewing, and the last thing to do just before we wrap up the show and end part 2 is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated super lightweight prospect, Mr. Mykal Fox. Mykal, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Mykal. It truly is. So first things first, whenever you've got a fight lined up, I always mention it to my listeners, and whenever you fought, I always mention the result to my listeners. One of the things that stands out about you, of course, is the fact that you stand at 6'3.5", and somehow you managed to make 140. Explain how it's possible, Mykal.
Well, man, you just have a good system. You of course I put in hard work, but the eating, the biggest thing is what you're eating, and one of the major things is I'm never out of the gym for too long. Like some people fight and to be gone out the gym for like a month. I might take like a week off and then just tone down the intensity of my normal training, because you do want to feel the difference between a training camp and just regular training. So I might tone it down, but I'm never just out of the gym.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine. Now, of course, your brother's also a boxer. We had your brother on the show previously, another incredibly tall fighter for his weight. I remember when we spoke to him, he was telling me at the time that you were soon possibly going to be moving up in weight, but that was a while ago. You're still making 140. Do you see yourself at this weight for much longer, or were you going to go up and now you've changed your mind about that?
The time is going to come where I'm going to have to go up, but I think if the next weight I go up to, I'll be there for a long time. Right now, we're just making sure that my body can compete at the welterweight level. I've fought at welterweight, and the guys are stronger. But my skill set, I've still, as you can see, I still remain undefeated. But you got to give your body time to mature properly. So it will happen, probably, if I had to guess, probably next year sometime.
Okay, cool. So, of course, you're fighting this Saturday. You're only 22 years of age. Your opponent is double your age. He's 44. That's pretty interesting, but, that happens a lot in boxing when a prospect's fighting a journeyman or something, but this guy, of course, is no journeyman at all. It's the former world champion DeMarcus Chop Corley, a slick southpaw that's mixed it with Floyd Mayweather himself. And another interesting fact is that, of course, as you said, you're still undefeated. 17 wins you've got, and DeMarcus Corley's got 51 wins, so 3 times the amount of wins that you've got. I'm sure that this has to, be the first time this has ever happened in history. Surely it's never happened before. But tell me though, Mykal, what do you know about Chop?
I know a lot about Chop. We're both from the same area, the Washington D.C., Maryland area. So I grew up. We grew up. Everyone around my age, my brother and I both. grew up watching Chop Chop. One of my earliest memories is he fought in the area at the Washington D.C. Convention Center. I think that was like my second time attending a pro fight, and I believe he was the main event. And Lamont and Anthony Peterson both fought on that undercard. So that was a very memorable. That was a great like first memory from when I first started boxing. But him being a southpaw, of course I studied him. I've studied him, picking up on the things that he does, maybe trying to at some point trying to imitate. But fighting him now is gonna. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just business. All the admiration I have for him, that's not gonna matter until after that final bell.
Yeah, very well said. Cool story there, man, about going to actually see him fight, and probably at that point never imagining that, sometime down the line you could end up fighting the guy. Now, like I say, he's twice your age, he's got 3 times your wins, but at least you're twice his height, Mykal. I'm only playing.
Right.
Obviously,
that is definitely to my advantage. Another thing about that fight too, he was he had to look at the axe. He always walked out with the axes and everything, and then. It was funny, he tossed out a pair of socks that read Chop Chop on them. They landed in this lady's lap. For some reason, she thought they were dirty, but they were like brand spanking new. So I took them, I trained in them, I fought in them, I lost them. But, that was a fun time in my life.
That is crazy, man. I mean, how mind-blowing would that be if you walked out on Saturday wearing those socks?
Man,
cool.
That would be crazy. And I know the announcers that would say something about it. But, it wouldn't be, like I said, it wouldn't even be a thing to me. Just we're going to fight, we're going to handle business, and then afterwards, it's back to that admiration will come back. And he'll still be former world champion DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley to me.
For sure. Now, obviously, like I say, he's the much older guy. I was going to ask you if you'd watched his fights before you signed to fight him. You basically answered that question there. You mentioned there, about his ring walks in the past. He does like to enter the ring in very extravagant circumstances. I know that his last ring walk, he actually got to the ring without touching the floor with any part of his body. You're probably thinking he was on a flying carpet. No, he was actually skating on some weights from the gym. It was really bizarre, to say the least. Do you ever spice up your own ring walks, Mykal, or do you not really care too much about all that stuff?
No, I don't really spice them up that much. But of course, I try to play a song that's popular at the time and whatnot. But I saw his last ring walk. He was on the device is called a frog. It's like $1,500. He rolled out on that. That was it's entertainment. It's fanfare. The fans like seeing crazy stuff like that. So it works for him. So if it works for him, then why not do it?
And I want to ask you.
It gets people excited about the fight.
And I want to ask you, Mykal, have you been able to share the ring with some big name fighters over the years? Sparred some top level guys? If so, who?
Oh yeah, I've sparred with Lamont and Anthony Peterson. Kermit. I most recently sparred with Kermit Cintron.
Oh, wow.
We did 9 or 10 rounds, and then I sparred Hammer Hank Lundy. He is actually he actually. I was 4-0 when we sparred, and he's actually the only professional fighter that has ever paid me for sparring. So he's my guy for that.
Yeah, he's my guy too. He's been on this show a few times. He's a real top notch kind of guy. The World Boxing Super Series is happening at your weight, super lightweight. Are you excited about seeing the tournament unfold? Who do you want to see fight each other? Who do you believe will win it, if you can say at this stage?
I'm probably rooting for Regis Prograis. I like the way he fights.
Exciting,
but it's really the tournament's stacked. So it's too. I think it might be a little too early to call it.
Yeah, I probably agree. I don't know, you probably haven't seen much footage of him, but a guy from over here, Scotland actually, Josh Taylor, he's in the tournament. This guy is a brilliant fighter. I keep saying it to the American boxers that I speak to. A lot of them don't really know too much about him, but he's absolutely brilliant. So watch out for him.
I've seen some of his stuff on like Sky Sports. A few of his highlights look very sharp. Because I follow him on Twitter. I try to stay plugged in as much as I can, but I mean we are a world apart.
Yeah. No, I see. Now, like your brother, you're trained by your father, Trey Fox. What's that like, Mykal? Is being trained by your father very tough? Does he go easier on you or your brother?
No, he doesn't really go easy. If you ask him, he'll say that I'm the favorite son. I'll say, yeah, whatever. But he, I think, he'll always, no matter what, he'll always be a father. So that will, from time to time, kick in. As much as father coaches say that they're able to separate it, there are times where you may see where the dad may kick in, where the dad in there is still he's lying dormant, but he's actually there. Like at the end of the day, my dad doesn't want to see me hurt, but him being a coach, he'll let a little more go because he knows we're fighters. But above all, a man's job to his son is to protect him. So guys like Angel Garcia, Kenny Porter, as well as Troy Fox, these guys, they're going to protect their son if they can't do it themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to ask you also, Mykal, how is your brother getting on? Obviously, we spoke to him before his fight with Demetrius Andrade. What's next for him at this stage, if you know anything?
Well, he actually had to get shoulder surgery and surgery for a torn ligament in his elbow, and he ended up having to get work on his bicep. So he had after that fight he had been recovering. The doctors pretty much cleared him. He's back. He'll be back in the ring September 22nd. Basically back home in Maryland. So, this is his first fight back. He wants to. Of course, he wants to look impressive. He seems all healed up. He's running all his miles. He's back to punching. He's sparring a lot of rounds. So I'm pretty sure he's back to good health. September 22nd, Ayaz Fox returns.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Now, you and your brother are both with different promoters, right? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. He is with DeBella Entertainment, and I'm with King's Promotions with Marshall Kaufman.
Yeah, and I want to ask you because on this podcast we like to joke around about some of the funniest named boxers in boxing, and there's lots and lots of funny names out there, but one of them is actually signed to King's Promotions. I'm guessing you probably know who I'm talking about.
No. Tell me one time.
There's a guy, and I'd never say this to his face because he's a heavyweight, but there's an undefeated fighter out there called Mykal Coffee. And that's a brilliant name. I mean, whenever somebody wants a coffee, they never want a rude coffee. They always want a polite coffee. In my experience,
I know exactly. I actually know exactly who he is. We fought in the same car. I never knew his nickname was Polite though. That's a very interesting name to be a fighter.
I don't even think it's his nickname. I think it's his middle name.
Oh, that's his middle name.
I believe so.
Oh well, hey, I mean that's an interesting name for a fighter. There's nothing polite about what we do, so
So, shout out to Mykal Polite Coffee. But I like to ask this question to everybody that we speak to from overseas. Mykal, I know that you're only 22. I don't know what your knowledge is on UK boxing, but who is your favourite UK fighter if you do have one? It doesn't have to be a guy that's still fighting now. It can be, though. It can be somebody that's retired years and years ago. It's completely up to you. Who's your favourite UK fighter? Who comes to mind when I ask you that?
Favorite UK fighter? I mean, I'm currently, Anthony Joshua. I definitely enjoy watching him fight. Back in the day would probably be Chris Eubank. Well, no. Nigel Benn. Y'all got some sharp guys. I would say Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn. I like it. I've watched old tapes of them. So we can call those three guys some UK favorites.
Yeah, those guys
of mine.
Yeah, those guys certainly favourites of most people, to be completely honest. Good fighters there.
Yeah, I like Tony Bellew too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that, like I say, a few years ago, not many people really knew who he was, but lately he's just, I mean, he's been doing things that no one gave him a chance of doing, and he keeps proving everybody wrong time and time again. So certainly, emerged into quite a great fighter over the last couple of years.
Yeah. He's done it. To be honest, I didn't know. I feel bad for saying it, but I didn't know who he was before the movie Creed. But then I watched him. I'm like, this dude got scraps. Then I watched him fight David Haye. I'm like, hey, he can box.
Yeah, he's a lot of people would probably would say the same thing. I mean, that movie really, made him into quite a famous guy. Finally, Mike, just before I let you go, where can people follow you? I know that you're on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Professor Mike. Have I got that right?
Yes, that's exactly where you follow me. Twitter and Instagram, Professor Mike. And I'm always on there talking boxing, giving updates on my camps and all that.
And it is Professor, and the way you've spelt Mike is Myke. That's right, yeah?
That is correct.
Okay, Professor Mike, Myke, just for the fans if they want to follow that journey that is looking ever promising. But listen, Mykal, it's been my pleasure having you on this show. It really, really is. I want to wish you the absolute best of luck for Saturday, and we'll certainly catch up sometime afterwards, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. Please. Just give me a call.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 148 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. Firstly, I'd like to apologise for the echoing on the interview with Caleb Truax. It's the second time that it's actually happened with Caleb Truax, so I'm not quite sure what the problem is. I'm not quite sure if it was our fault or not, but regardless of all that, I'd like to just apologise for that there. Of course, a massive shout out to our two guests on this week's show, Mykal Fox and Caleb Truax. One of them used to play as his future opponent in a video game when he was a kid. The other, when he was a kid, used to wear his future opponent's socks. It can only happen in boxing. It really is the best sport in the whole wide world. Once again, I'd like to thank our listeners. I'd like to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts just for being the absolute best bunch of listeners that we could ever ask for. Best of luck on the Prediction League this week, people. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll catch you all again in 7 days' time.